Hello guys, how are you? My name is Alvaro Dehita and welcome to this new video on my YouTube channel in which I will talk about a video game that very few of you know or have had the opportunity to play it. And that video game is nothing more and nothing less than the Da Vinci Code. When the PlayStation 2 console was in its very successful moment, it was a time when it was almost 100% certain that every movie that was released in theaters had its own video game. And that was great for me because unlike now, you could find more variety in video games. But one day I crossed with this video game that I never imagined it was possible to invent. The Da Vinci Code. And why I'm saying this, because as you already know, the plot of the film it's so serious in comparison with other movies. I don't know, for example, Flash Away, Spider-Man, The Incredible Hulk, and Monster House, movies that belong to a genre that was the most adapted for a video game, you know? But well, it was such the curiosity that invaded me at that moment that I gave myself the opportunity to play it, an opportunity that, without doubt, it was the best of all. So, the Da Vinci Code, it's a 2006 PlayStation 2 video game which was released simultaneously with the film of the same name, directed by Ron Howard. And well, the story revolves around Robert Langdon, a prestigious professor in symbology who, after getting suspicious of a murder, he gets involved in a mysterious and a dangerous search for truth. And with the help of French cryptologist Sophie Nebeu, Robert will embark on this journey from France to England in order to decipher a series of clues and codes that revolves around the most godly secret of the Catholic Church that could change forever the future of mankind, the Holy Grail. So, all through the film and the video game were released at the same time. The video game is mainly based in the original book written by the American author Dan Brown. And for that reason, we can find some of the places shown in the film, but also many others that were not shown at all. And for being part of the Dan Brown's book, they give us an unique experience within the world of the Da Vinci Code. And having said that, the video game has a total of 9 levels in which take place in most of the part in the settings of the book. And the levels are the following: the Louvre Museum, Science of Peace, Normandy Mansion, Zurich Bank, Chateau Roulette, Biggin Hill Airland, Temple Church, Westminster Abbey, and the Roslin Chapel. The first 5 levels of the game take place in France, while the other 4 are in England. And so, we as players, we have the opportunity to play under the skin of the 2 main characters of the film and the book. On the one hand, we have Robert Langdon, a prestigious professor in symbology, who, after gets suspicious in the cruel murder of the curator of the Louvre, Jacques Saunier, he gets involved on this journey from France to England, in which he needs to decipher a series of clues and a series of codes that revolves around the work done by Da Vinci, but also in the times of Jesus Christ. Then, the next character that we can play with is Sophie Nebeu, a French cryptologist of the police department who will join Robert's quest in order to find the real killer of Saunier. And why is that? Because in reality, Nebeu is Jacques Saunier's granddaughter. But she will find something much bigger than herself, something that will question everything that she thought she knew until this moment. Then the third character that we can find in the video game is Sir Lee Tevin, an expert in the history of the Holy Grail, and also that he will be joining to the quest with Robert and Sophie, but in reality his intentions are completely different. Then we have Sauvage, a French inspector of the police department and a secret member of the Opus Dei, that he believes in fact that Robert Langdon is Jackson Near's killer. So for that reason, he will stop at no one, at nothing, until he manages to capture him. Finally, the last character that we can find in the game is Silas, an albino monk from a bachelor's father and a timid mother who acts under the orders of a secret character called the Teacher, who gave Silas a purpose in his life after escaping from prison. With an incredible height and tremendous strength, Silas can easily kill anyone who crosses his path, so it won't be long that Silas will meet Robert and Sophie in this story. As we help Robert and Sophie to advance in their quest, we will encounter 3 different groups of enemies who will seek to stop them at any cost. And the first group are the DCPJ, this group of officers who acts under the orders of Fash in order to capture both Robert and Sophie in a boat. And this police could be found in the levels of Le Museum, Normandy Mansion, Zurich Bank, and Beacon Hill Airline. Secondly, we have the Sanctus Umbra, a group of monks trained by the Manus Dei in order to accomplish the vengeance of God. These monks have the ability to hide in the dark, but also to kill so violent all who manages to cross on their path. These monks could be found in the levels of Saint-Sulpice and Normandy Mansion. Finally, the last group of enemies that we can find in the game are the mercenaries, this group of criminals that act under the orders of the Teacher to kill both Robert and Sophie. So if you need someone to protect a place, or in the worst case, if you need someone to be killed, those guys will do it with a perfect price, without a doubt. Those mercenaries could be found in the levels of Temple Church and Westminster Abbey. There will be some moments on the game in which we will need to face this group of enemies in order to advance to the next level. In combat, of course. And this combat is melee, and both Robert and Sophie have their own fight skills. So in order to win a fight or a combat against a DCPJ officer, a Sanctus Umbra monk, a mercenary, or even Silas, we will need to press all the buttons in our PlayStation 2 controller exactly in the same order as they appear on the screen to gain more damage. As fast as you do it, more damage you will generate to your enemy. On the other hand, if we as players fail to press the sequence of buttons, we will have high chances to lose this combat in a very fast and violent way. Why is that? Because some of the enemies of the game have the ability to smash your head against the wall and give you a fatal blow from behind, or in the worst case, break your spine. Combats are a part of the game that we will have to complete to advance in the story, but not the only one. In all 9 levels, we will have to solve a series of codes and clues that revolve around the work of Da Vinci, and whose complexity can vary considerably in each level. For example, we will have to solve hidden poems behind each painting, a series of anagrams that make reference to some characters of the Catholic Church, find lost fragments of a work of art and then decipher its message, play exactly a score of music to open a passage, place in the correct order a series of electrical fuses in order to escape, find characters and objects hiding in Da Vinci's paintings, and solve the cryptics, a mysterious and fine artifact designed by Da Vinci in order to find the papyrus that contains the true location of the Holy Grail in the world. One thing I will say, you may be able to defeat the enemies in combat, but if you can't crack the code part, you definitely won't advance in the story of the video game. We as players have the opportunity to play under the skin of Robert and Sophie being together, but there are certain levels in the game that both Robert and Sophie need to split up in order to advance in their quest. So for that reason, the combat section can be a little bit more difficult in comparison of being together. So for example, the levels in which we only play as Robert are Saint-Sulpice, Biggin Hill Airland and Westminster Abbey. On the other hand, we can play only as Sophie Neveu in the levels of Normandy Mansion, Chapter Lead and the Untitled Chapter. Another point that I want to mention on this video is the music of the game. And the music is composed by Winfred Phillips, who also worked in other video games. But anyway, the music of the game is so wonderful because imagine that every level has its own music, so you as player, you actually feel that you are inside the game, you know? You feel a different atmosphere in comparison with the previous levels, so the music, it's great, it's wonderful. The physical features and clothing of every character of the game are so different in comparison with the film. And why is that? Because those descriptions are from Dan Brown's book. But Robert Cloudworthy, the voice actor who gives life to Robert Langdon in the game, has a pretty similar voice with Tom Hanks, who portrays the character in the film. So for that reason, the familiarization with Robert Langdon in the game could be easier in comparison with the other characters. To be honest with you guys, I can say with confidence that almost all the levels of the video game are so difficult. And why is that? Because every level has a different atmosphere, okay? But also, every level has different clues and different codes. Codes that require to use, in a high level, I mean, to use more and more and more and more our analytical skills, you know? And I think that makes so interesting. But maybe the only level that could be the easiest one is the Roslyn Chapel, the last level, because it's the only level where there are no enemies, so there is no combat. And to finish this video, guys, I can say that the video game of the Da Vinci Code is without a doubt the best video game that I ever played. And why I'm saying this because it's a game that every level has a different atmosphere, okay, and different codes that require to use in a very high level our analytical skills, and I think that point is so interesting. And on the other hand, I think that the topic of the game is so controversial and also exciting because it says that the Holy Grail in the real life, it's not an object, it's a woman. The only woman that Jesus Christ loved and who he had a long line of descendants until our present day, Mary Magdalene, okay? And so yeah, the Da Vinci Code, it's my #1 video game. It has a great character development, great designs, and a wonderful music, a great complexity. It's fantastic, so yeah, I like it a lot. Well, thank you very much, guys. If you want me to talk about any other video game or any film, please let me know it in the comment section, okay? And thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.
Suddenly, I understood Samir's message at last. The Holy Grail beneath ancient Roslyn waits. Adorned in Master's loving art she lies. She rests at last beneath the starry sky.